Monday, January 13th, 2025. There are no items to report in closed session, so I'd like to ask everyone to please join me in pledging our allegiance to the Ready, salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is a public comment. Per Board Policy 2350, any person may address the board at this time, either on agenda item or other matters of interest to the public that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the board. A maximum of 5 minutes is allowed for each speaker, and a maximum time of 15 minutes per item unless otherwise extended by the board. At this time, I'd like to invite anyone pertaining to public comments concerning items on the agenda. Seeing none, I'd like to invite anyone who'd like to make public comment concerning items not on the agenda. Whoever would like to go first.
Hi, everyone. My name is Esther Villegas Sandoval. I'm a full-time faculty member in the sociology department. On Friday, I sent an email to COS E-News distributing some resources that we can share with our undocumented community. After I sent this email, I received an overwhelming response from staff across COS, staff that are classified, full-time adjunct faculty, etc. And the overwhelming response is that they are requesting COS to have a more visible presence in supporting our undocumented students and that there is more visible support overall. There was also concern that some of the work that individual faculty have been taken on should be taken on by the institution and the district itself, such as institutionally, there should be Know Your Rights workshops, invitations with the ACLU to provide teaching opportunities for how we can protect our undocumented community and understanding what issues might arise from having border protection and ICE and so forth come onto our campus and what are ways in which we can support our students. I want to remind us that we are in the Central Valley. We are a Hispanic Serving Institute with various migrant communities all around us that we do serve. And overall, I also want to express my stance that there also should be more visible support from the district, from the board, from whoever it may be, in institutionalizing some of these resources and making sure that the Dream Resource Center does have the funding, the staff, the training, etc., so that these resources can be distributed to the community and we know how to support our undocumented students. I think we need to keep in mind the mission of COS, and the mission of COS is to ensure that all members of the community have access to education. And keeping our mission in mind, it is absolutely imperative that we continue to also support our undocumented students. I also taught classes today at the Tulare campus, and in speaking with my students, it also became incredibly evident that students themselves also want support from the board, from the president, from senior administration, from the institution. They want to know that they are heard, they want to know that they are seen, and that they are not being pushed into the shadows, as they so often are. So I call on senior administration, I call on the board to make sure that we are doing right by this community. Thank you.
Hello. Good evening to everyone here. My name is Jacqueline Ramirez. I'm president of MECHA. I'm a student at COS, and most importantly, I'm a child of immigrants. Today, sadly, I continue to be worried of where COS stands as mass deportation has begun. This issue no longer just concerns our undocumented students, but our whole Latina community as entirely. If you haven't heard, several of Latino men have been falsely deported, even though they were citizens. They continue to racially profile us, and I want to make sure that we are seeing more than just excuses of, well, the Dreamers themselves don't want this to be publicized. We need COS to publicly show their support in making sure that all students are safe, especially how the last person had just come and said, if you guys want to take the title of a predominantly Hispanic institution, then why aren't we protecting the predominantly Hispanic people that are here? I continue to show fright because although Border Patrol has been in my own communities and my own neighborhoods, if you don't know, Border Patrol is currently at Food for Less on the north side, so that's predominantly where I stay, my rumbos. And so many of us have continuously been racially profiled, pulled to the side, and asked for our papers. A lot of them don't know their rights, sadly. I continue to ask and push for a public statement because if you are truly an ally, it shouldn't be in the shadows. If you're truly an ally, you should be proud to protect us. It seems that you guys are protecting some type of alliance with other people that may not agree with what's going on. This is more than just politics, this is our livelihood. I'm shaking to this point, and although I've come here before, I'm still terrified. Because once I leave this room, I'm no longer protected. I want my campus to be safe. I go here every day. I ask you, Brent Calvin, taking pride to get a raise, knowing all your students, right? Shaking everyone's hands, coming to our club meetings. Take pride in protecting those same kids that you shake their hands. Take pride to take reassurance for our communities. It's really disappointing to come back and have to say that I've been given excuses saying, well, the undocumented students already know their rights. We already sent out an email. This is more than just an email-worthy situation. This is a situation where it no longer just affects people that are undocumented, but people that are brown just like me. I ask for there to be somewhat of some sympathy and empathy, some form of action. And that form of action is a public statement. To continue to take pride within being a predominantly Hispanic institution. To take pride to make sure that our students and all students are safe. This is something that Mecha has continued to fight for since the beginning. Racially profiling isn't something so absurd that we've grown out of. Currently, it's something that we continue to face. I should be scared because every time I leave my home, I have to make sure I have some form of ID. Because one day it can be me. I want to continue to know that the institution that I'm at is somewhere I'm proud to be at. Because luckily enough, our COS Mecha has been nominated to take nationals here. And I said this before and I'll say it again, I don't want to be embarrassed. I don't want to be embarrassed knowing that there's people here taking the pride of an HSI and not taking pride in having Hispanic students here. I don't want there to be some type of token of just having my face here. I want to continue to know that although I have Connie here, that all of you are here to empathize, and I want to continue to make sure that this is documented and put in the notes. Because sadly, that's the type of things we have to do as people of color in this type of position, making sure my voice is heard and documented. This is a worry for not just our club, but our whole community. There's so many students that aren't even a part of Mecha, and they're still coming with me tomorrow to make sure that we go to fields and give out information about their rights as undocumented people, because they are still people. I want to emphasize, a public statement is what is needed. No more excuses. If the email that I get next is not COS stands with us and protecting us, I don't want to hear it. Thank you for your time.
Good evening, everyone, board, President Calvin, members of the community. I'm Octavio Barajas, Ethnic Studies professor, and I just want to as the advisor also of the Mecha Club, say how proud I am of Jackie coming up and speaking up as such a strong speaker. I think it's really important to support our student leaders involved in civic engagement and reporting to governance bodies such as this one, to making sure that the interest and also the concerns of students are actually heard. So I really appreciate the opportunity and the courage of you speaking up. and actually allowing us to hear some of the concerns that are surfacing up from students. And I want to echo some of the things that also have been stated already with other kind of points in mind as well, because it's really important in terms of, like, I know COS does a lot already, and I'm very much aware that how many things that are taking place with the Dream Center, how many things are done with so many people who are on the ground who are doing this work. But the point of a public statement is not to brag about the things that we are doing already. The point of a public statement is to make sure that not only our students are aware that we got their back, but also that the community is also aware of that as well. We don't need to go in and say how many FTEs, this or that. The public doesn't need to hear all that stuff. But it's so important for the anxiety that students are feeling right now, that it's very real in terms of their mental health, how well they're going to be able to perform in our classes, to know that the upper management and the leadership of our institution has their back. That is so important. That's going to make a world of a difference to making sure that our students not only continue to feel welcome, but are able to thrive in our institutions. And one thing that this is going to affect more than just our undocumented community. This is going to affect more than just our undocumented students. There's students here who have parents that are undocumented, that have cousins, that have neighbors. We have members of our community who employ by contract members of the community who are benefiting from their labor, who won't be able to benefit from that in the future. And all these different ways that massive ramifications. I've been in touch with so many members of the community already with what's been happening as of late, who have told me some awful stories of kids who've been crying, going to school crying. And there's concerns, what's going on, mija? ¿Qué te pasa? I don't know where my parents are at. That's happening right now. There's people who are having these kinds of things taking place in their life right now. We have parents that are getting picked up after dropping their kids off at school. That's happening right now. So this is very serious. We've had campaigns who have informed us that this is what's going to take place. And there's policies in place with the Chancellor's office that indicate that we wouldn't be out of bounds, out of lines, for saying that we are going to be aligned with the policies that have been coming down from the Chancellor's office. So these are some things that are really critical to acknowledge from that level, to understand that. So, and also the racial profiling. And I want us all also mention and applaud the efforts of COS when it came down, when the unions was taking place with public transportation, how responsive we were then, how many of us that pulled through to make sure our students got to class, because so many of us were actually given carpools over there. I want to see that level of responsiveness, not only just in terms of a public statement, but also what is our plan? Because there's going to be students who come to COS that we can't guarantee their safety when they come here. And I know we're limited on what we can do, but what I'm saying is what Jackie had mentioned earlier about racially profiling. How many of us here are carrying our passport with us right now? And what happens is someone's going to get pulled over. We're going to have no control of that. They will get pulled over as they make their way to COS because they have been racially profiled. If we're not concerned about that, maybe it's because we have that kind of privilege that we don't have to think about that stuff. But some of us, when we go to work, we're not sure if maybe a family member is going to be there when we get back home. And that's the reality of what we're living at this moment. But I just want to make sure that that's communicated, that we understand the importance of our leadership to say publicly, we love all our students, including our undocumented students and our undocumented community that is a part of COS. Thank you very much.
Although we've exhausted 15 minutes, we'll allow some more comments, but please be respectful. We want everyone to hear everyone's voice. So if you can, if you can summarize your comments.
So, hi, I'm Osiris De Leon. I am an employee here at COS. Today, I'm not here as an employee, sorry. I'm here as an elderly brown Hispanic woman that has gone through what everybody here that has spoken before me has said. However, I do agree that there needs to be a statement. I agree with that. We need to show the support to our students. Where I'm disagreeing with is in the public statement. Why? As a brown woman, they can be stopped anywhere out there because I don't look another color. I can tell you that the last thing I want is for the light to be shone on my forehead. Even though I look like I have a tortilla on my forehead, I'm a Guatemalan Indian, so that's how I look. I don't want that spotlight to be on my forehead. And and this is a point of view from me, being that 32 years ago I came to this country undocumented on an asylum petition. Took me 20 years to become a citizen of this country, 20 years. And I did everything right. I paid taxes from the very beginning. I worked. I never was doing any crimes or anything. So I'm very proud. But it took me 20 years to achieve that, citizenship status, which I am very proud now. But I think by the conversations I've been having with a lot of students, because at one point I was a part of the Dream Club. All of the students had my personal number. I had gotten at least 30 calls. And they are all afraid that if COS says, hey, I'm here and I protect all undocumented, tomorrow ICE will be at our door. I know that needs to be a show, a proof that you are supporting us. Yes, I understand that. But public means putting ourselves right in the front and telling ICE, I'm here, come get me. Because we cannot stop them when they get in here. I don't think anybody can do that. This is my point of view. But like I say, by the conversations having with other students and even family members, I have family members that are still undocumented. They don't want nobody to say, we did this, come to the school, we're so good, Yes, we feel protected when we come, but let's face it, there is not enough resources or anything to protect us from ICE if they get here. And I can be in that quad and be stopped as well as Jackie, as well as everybody that is not white in this room. We can be stopped anywhere for that. So I don't want that light to be shining on me. Like I say, this is a point of view, and I'm not here because I'm an employee. Somebody told me I never learned how to be a sycophant, so I can't. So I'm not doing that. But this is devil's advocate, I guess. So thank you for your time.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, board members. My name is Jose Segala, and I'm a resident of the city of Tulare. I'm here to talk about two things, one that's on and one that's not on the agenda. First one is I want to echo what other speakers have talked about, the importance of this campus standing strong with immigrant students. I respectfully disagree with the last speaker. You have to take a stand. I mean, there's no secret. I don't think anybody in the incoming administration has a secret that out of the 115 or 120 or however number of community colleges, there are undocumented students that go to those colleges. And so I think it's important for the COS board to support, I know Trustee Diaz has asked that it be agendized. I definitely support that effort. I've talked to Mr. Macareno about it. I've reached out to dozens of my council colleagues throughout the county who are ready to sign a letter supporting Mrs. Diaz's effort to agendize this discussion, to have the board consider a public statement. One that's not going to talk about, as the professor talked about, hey, this is who they are, this is where they're at, but something that basically as simple as saying, hey, we got your back. We're not going to support any enforcement of immigration as permitted by law. I mean, we have SB 54, we have a number of things that are in California. So I think a public statement is going to go a long way to support students. I mean, let's not, it's sort of like, at Halloween when, we turn off the lights and close the blinds and hoping kids don't come to our house, but then they see that there's a car in the driveway. So they know we're there. So let's not kid ourselves and say, hey, they don't think there are undocumented students on this campus. They are going to do enforcement. They're going to figure out what to do. And the next 4 years are going to be pretty scary for a lot of folks. And so, I'm here to support the effort to agendize. I ask all of you, Mr. Macareno, Mr. Lane, Mr. Nunes, and Mr. Sherman, to consider at least having a conversation at your next board meeting to ask to see what you can do publicly to issue a statement. So I definitely support that effort. The second one that I wanted to talk about was your minutes. I know that minutes capture or try to do their best to capture the sentiment of the speakers and what's going on in the meetings. And I read your minutes, and I was here for that meeting, and I watched the video 3 times. And I just wanted to urge the board to take, as Mr. Layton did in the last time, one of the meetings I was here, to words make a difference, is in your meeting, one of the public speakers is categorized as being anti-Israel. And I think that's important that words or those words not be used. You know, I was a Metro president of years ago at Santa Monica College when I spoke up against apartheid and talked about disinvesting from South Africa and companies that supported apartheid. I think the speaker talked about the same sentiment about disinvesting from companies that support war. I mean, the Middle East is a mess. You know, it's been going on for thousands of years, and no one in this room, and unfortunately, is going to fix it. But I think folks are allowed to speak about it. Folks are allowed to share their passion. And I think the anti-Israel description in the minutes was a little too harsh. I think it would probably be more effective if it were something anti-war, try to do some peace in the Middle East. So I would urge you guys, when you bring up your consent calendar, that agenda item be pulled, and that word be stricken, and something more effective in terms of capturing the sentiment of that conversation be done. So I appreciate that consideration. Thank you.
Is there anyone that'd like to speak on another topic outside of what was recently discussed?
Board, Mr. Macareno, Brent, want to thank you guys for having us here. We have, I'm Jesus Gamboa with the Northside Boxing Club. We're here, I got Brian Rangel, he's with me today. He's a COS student. And we came here, he's a user of the student center, where he gets his burritos or whatever he gets, the sodas or whatever. And we came to make a presentation to the COS on behalf of the American GI Forum. And before we do that, this topic, I'm not going to get into it real big, but this topic that everybody has so passionately talked about is an ongoing topic that my grandfather, your tios, your papa, and everybody, we all went through. Unfortunately, we don't think so, but it'll pass. But I have faith in the administration. I have faith in the board, that I'm sure you're already giving it some thought on how you might handle that. Convene your attorneys or whatever and put together a strategy. I understand, of course, don't take too long, because, there got to be some action done. But I understand you have a retreat coming up soon. Consider it, and, listen to your constituents, and hopefully, nothing real terrible happens. But anyway, that said, Brian?
Careful, Jesus. He might just knock you cold.
He has.
Hi, how's it going? My name is Brandon Rangel. I'm one of the boxers at Northside Boxing, and I'm also a student here. I'm super grateful for all the resources that COS has been able to give to me. I've used pretty much everything from the cafeteria to, the bookstore, everything that's been able to be offered here. And yes, I'm also a Latino student as well. And on behalf of the GI Forum, we want to present a check to College of the Sequoias.
What?
Yeah.
We're getting money tonight?
President?
Jesus came out of his own pocket?
Yeah.
Get that in the minutes, because that's a first.
And all I get is a bottle of water.
Yeah, so thank you so much.
Somebody open it up. It's not a big check, but.
Thank you.
$500. That's amazing. That is amazing. Question. Young man,
Before you sit down.
before you sit down. Are you a professional boxer?
I'm an amateur boxer. I will be turning pro at the end of the year.
Oh, good for you.
We're gonna go back to the gym, we gotta train.
Mr. Rangel,
And I do agree with everything that they say, so.
I'd like to thank you, for this, because I like to say, you're a perfect example of what giving back, to your community is. So keep doing what you're doing. Be a great example to more of those in your community, and hopefully we'll see more checks.
Thank you. And one more thing also, because I know they were talking about it, I understand where they're coming from, because I'm also a Latino, my family is undocumented, so, yeah, just keep on listening to what they're saying and listen to the community,
Good luck with your boxing.
Thank you so much.
So, Mr. President, if I could, I had planned on addressing this in my superintendent's report, but while it's fresh, and I know last time we had some folks slip out after public comment and they didn't hear some of what else went on. And so I think it's great to have this dialogue, and I also want to say that there are differing opinions, because we've met with our Dream Center coordinator. There are a lot of differing opinions about, do we want the extra attention and scrutiny, or do we not? Obviously, we have some speakers here tonight that want it, and they're not afraid to come to the mic. We've got about 300 undocumented students, and we emailed every single one of them the day after the election with a long, comprehensive email about resources available, come to the Dream Center, quite a number of things. If you're not familiar with it, we probably have the nicest Dream Center in the entire state, 115 colleges. It's gorgeous. Full-time student success coordinator that is housed in the Dream Center. LV is wonderful. Full-time student success counselor assigned to that population. Free legal assistance through the UFW. Immigration application assistance. I think we all know that we provide that. Local financial aid. Board of Governors fee waivers. State financial aid and foundation scholarships. We also provide ESL classes, about 100 this semester alone in outlying communities like Lindsay and Corcoran, Tulare. I think the Tulare Adult Ed Consortium gets $5 million a year. $5 million a year from the Sequoia's Adult Ed Consortium, and it's devoted primarily to helping this population. These students are also eligible for our Giant Marketplace, food pantry, mental health counseling, as well as Tulare County Social Services through our Giant Marketplace. They're also eligible for our Giant Threads, brand new clothing, absolutely for free. They also take part in our computer and hotspot, our transfer assistance, our half-priced food. So there's a reason why other community colleges in this region, including as far away as Fresno City, send their students to us in our Dream Center. And again, we were the first ones to send those students communication that we know you're shaken up. Please come and visit with us. And I think of those 300 or so, half of them have been into the center. Many of them in tears with a hug to say thank you for caring, thank you for reaching out. We've been a little hesitant in talking to them to come out publicly. I think there are people that have their best intentions in mind, but they may not be in that same status, and they may not feel the same. I also think there's people in our community, in fact, I'm sure there's people in our community that are looking to grandstand politically. And I can't tell you how pissed off that makes me, that people want to use our students as pawns. And when I look at city council members, I'm wondering, Mr. Segala, how much does your organization do or come out and support? I will eventually, yeah. I let you talk. I let you talk. Now you can let me talk. Because I'm told when I talk to city administrators that they do virtually nothing. I don't think they do what we do.
But I've got 300 undocumented students. You have thousands. You're responsible for thousands, and yet you're spending time at my board meeting trying to criticize me for doing these 18, 19, 20 things. And I'm not sure, wait, I'm going to talk and then you can rebut. You can have some more mic time if you want. Because I kind of don't understand where your interest is or other cities, because I know you have a letter, a resolution signed by a handful of electeds, and you start to wonder, like, what is your interest? I mean, I'm told you do virtually nothing for thousands, and we do is about as much as we can legally for our hundreds, and we're really proud of it. And if it ends up that our board wants to come out publicly and say something, I think it'll be against the wishes of at least a good portion of our undocumented students. And I see some nodding heads because they work with these students every day. They know that they don't want the scrutiny. But if it turns out that's the way we go, then so be it. But I think that our students, the actual ones in peril, should be the ones that voice that. And so far, it's overwhelmingly to the opposite. We love what COS is doing for us. Yes, we wish the cities that our parents live in were doing more for them, but we love what COS is doing for us. And I don't need some public statement for me to see how much COS cares about me. Now, if that changes, folks, like, you can see how upset I am, because I feel like that there's a portion of our population that's trying to use our students as political fodder, and I hate that. Like, I hate that. And we've visited the Dream Center. I've seen the pain in their eyes. Like, thank you for everything you're doing. I wish there was more people in our community, meaning their cities, that did more. But we're doing as much as we can. And if the last thing, and our board will have to decide, if the last thing we need to do is send out some statement. You know, the UCs and the CSUs and the community colleges teamed up on a statement. But if you read it, and I invite all of you to go read it, it says virtually nothing. Like, nobody's going to feel protected or empowered by their statement. But if that's what we're looking for, and our board agrees, then we can certainly do that. But let's not lose track of the fact that we're doing more than just about anybody in the state for the undocumented students that are under our care. And if only everybody cared about the people under their care as much as we care about ours, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Everybody'd feel good. Now, I know we're an easy target because we are doing something. You can come in, you can come to public comment, and that's your right. And I love our faculty. I love that I love how much they care about our students. I just think they don't deal with our students as much as the folks in the Dream Center do in terms of the undocumented. And our undocumented students have told us a different story. Like, why do I want ICE showing up here? Otherwise, they'd probably just go to Bakersfield, pass Visalia on the way to Fresno as the two big population centers. Why are you going to call attention to us? But if that's what we all decide is the right thing to do, we'll do it. Thank you, Mr. President. Appreciate that.
I think you're missing the point.
You've had your chance. Now, but I did promise Mr. Segala, please take the mic and please share with us what you are doing and as a city councilman, please. I can restate my list for what we're doing.
I appreciate it. I was a student at a college, so I understand. So I didn't want to make this personal, Mr. Calvin.
It's kinda too late for that, Jose.
I caught up and I didn't say anything about you. So I've seen many videos on YouTube to see kind of how you approach dissent on this campus. And so I just wanted to let you know that, yeah, we have a whole different operation at a city. Our chief of police is not going to be enforcing immigration law. You know, we have I can go through our senior center provides food, our library provides books, our, city clerk provides service. I mean, I can go through an entire list and maybe
And your
come up
statement is
with the
stronger
same
than the
thing.
CSUs
So,
have?
No, what I'm asking is that the board, it's in the board's hand, of course, that the board consider a statement that basically is going to back up students on this campus. I don't think anybody, at least I'm not supporting all the things that you are asking for in delineating all the services. I mean, if you want to bring attention to people, then, hey, why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? I'm sure a lot of your friends would probably have concerns with the kind of services that are being provided to the community, but
And I'll push back all day long on those people.
What we need to do is, as a community, we have a right to come to this meeting. I'm here as a resident of Tulare. I'm not here as a council member. I'm here as a resident of Tulare. But I do know that we represent a lot of undocumented folks that come to this school, that come to this campus, and we want to do what we can to support them. And I don't want to take much time, but I appreciate your passion. I also ask the board to respect the public comment and the public sentiment. I mean, I'm not going to get into a back and forth. I've talked to many undocumented students. I mean, maybe I talk more than you two, but I don't know. We're not going to get into that. You talk to more, I talk to more. The fact is that the reality is that the incoming administration is going to let hell loose on undocumented individuals, including students on your campus, and don't think that they won't show up here just because you're not saying anything. So I appreciate your time.
If you know me, you'll know I'll fight harder than anybody. But Jose, I would like to, what does your statement look like? Because you're asking us for a statement. You have thousands more than we have. What's your statement? Do you have a public statement?
That is the board's purview. I mean, the goal is to try to get 5-0 on a statement, and it depends on the wordsmith. So,
Mr. Brown, I
you know,
think this is
yeah.
obviously a very emotional issue.
Yeah, so
and
I
I don't
appreciate-
think we need the back and forth.
No,
on
and I
this.
appreciate that, Mr. Nunes,
And
and
so I think maybe it is emotional, and it is an issue that unfortunately we'll be dealing with. And so
Thank you.
I suspect that the city will be doing something as well, because you, but anyway, that's not the,
Right, I mean,
that's
that's
not the
not-
point of our discussion today.
Thank you. And-
And listen, and thank you, Jose.
if you need help with the statement, I can help
I
you write.
would,
I meant the city state, that's all, Jose.
We can move on now. We can move on now.
Mr. President, maybe, I guess I can make some comments under my board time.
I'm going to make comments as well, and I'm going to save them for our board report. Okay, at this time, I'd like to invite, for our board and executive staff reports, for the student trustee report, we have a representative.
Hi, everyone. My name is Toby Shirk. I'm part of the Student Senate. I'm here filling in for the previous student trustee, Makai Sanchez. Just here to deliver our student trustee report for January. So I'm going to start off with news for all three campuses. The first 2 days of school, today included, COS was and will be welcoming students with donuts and directions, where students are able to grab a donut, maybe two, receive directions to their classes, department appointments, any kind of services that they need. We're planning to give away around 2,400 donuts between the 2 days and all of the campuses, so quite a few. Moving on to the Hanford highlights. From January 13th to 16th, the Hanford campus will kick off the spring semester with Welcome Week, which gives students some donuts as well, fun activities, a resource fair. Then on Friday, January 24th, our police academy will celebrate the graduation of class 160, in which there are currently 50 cadets. That's going to be at the neighborhood church in Visalia at 1:30 p.m. On January 10th, the police academy, in collaboration with CTE, will be hosting a meet, greet, and eat informational session. Attendees will include new cadets as well as individuals interested in joining the academy. The Spring Fire Academy, which began on Monday, January 6th, is operating at full capacity with 32 students enrolled. The first cohort of the paramedic program has successfully completed its classroom component. The students are now transitioning into clinical rotations at Kauai Health and Adventist hospitals in Hanford and Tulare. Speaking of Tulare, for some highlights there, from January 21st to 23rd, COS Tulare will hold Welcome Week, where students can participate in more fun activities, get acquainted with student services. We have activities like tacos with tutorial services, sweet savings with financial aid, and vision boards with the bookstore. On January 30th, from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m., COS Tulare will be hosting the ribbon cutting for the Applied Technology and Trades Complex. All interested participants are encouraged to attend and RSVP for the event by contacting the COS Tulare Provost's office. For Visalia, Student Senate is going to be hosting Club Rush in the Quad on January 29th and 30th. where our 30-plus student clubs are going to be there to invite peers to participate, share activities, share interests, and food vendors and music will also be there to keep the atmosphere fun and lively. And that's about all that I have.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Toby?
No questions for me.
Thank you for
Thank you.
supporting the economy with all your purchasing of donuts.
And thanks for being here.
Next, board member reports. Trustee Sherman?
I only apologize for not being at convocation. I think it's the first one I've missed of 38. I had a doctor's appointment and couldn't be there, but I apologize. You know, I enjoy convocation a lot. So.
Trustee Nunes?
Thank you. Yeah, convocation, attended that, and we had a great, at least I thought it was a great speaker that day. Enjoyed it very much. I particularly enjoyed the 3 or so minute video that was put together for the, to go along with the ICER. I thought that was very well done. Once again, food services, I suspect food services was responsible for the get-together afterwards, and if they haven't been thanked already for all the work that they did, if you would thank them on our behalf, that would be very nice. Just to kind of give you a couple of thoughts on my point of view on the subject that we've been discussing, and I've given it thought, and I'm believe that I'm very sympathetic to the plight of undocumenteds, given the environment that we face ourselves in, and I think I particularly have some context in that I'm an immigrant myself, although I certainly didn't face to the extent that the undocumenteds may be facing at this point. So I believe that I come at this from a personal perspective as well. And I appreciate those that came to speak. There was, and it's obvious that if it were a consensus, it would be a no-brainer, but I think there's 2 points of view here, and I'm kind of trying to figure out what is the best option here. If it were as easy as just making a public statement and having problems solved, I mean, we would do that today, I think. If I could pinpoint the issues that could be solved by making a public statement, again, that would be a no-brainer as well. But I think we need to maybe continue to have some dialogue and see what else can be done, because obviously the problem's not going to go away. We dealt with it 4 years ago, or 8 years ago, I guess. Lose track of time, but I think the way it was handled then seemed to be okay. I don't think we had major issues, at least that I was aware of. So I think we all just need to take a step back and take a deep breath, and I think by work together on this and come up with a solution that's best for those that face the brunt of the undocumented issue. So it's something that I struggle with for sure.
Thank you, Trustee Nunes. We do have it on the agenda for our retreat week after next for a presentation on, kind of what I summarized here, and then and obviously we've gotten some good feedback tonight, so we can make a determination if how much we want to do. We can bring a copy of what UC, CSU, and the California community colleges did. There's no mention of undocumented students whatsoever. It's just we support our students. But we can certainly have that discussion after the presentation at the board retreat as well.
Thank you. Trustee Lane.
Thank you. President Magdalena. Echo in terms of the convocation, excellent job, as always, by our President Superintendent of outlining the accomplishments of the college. Very impressive, very impressive. I wish those in the audience that aren't COS employees could have the access to that. They have access, but sometimes it takes a little bit to get to it. But very impressive accomplishments, not only standing on their own, but in comparison to other institutions. So for one, I'm extremely proud of this organization and what it has accomplished and what it stands for. Also, I had the opportunity, along with my fellow trustee, Nunes, to see the women's and men's basketball this past Saturday, and very impressive. Not only their academic prowess, but also this, you know, the way they conducted themselves on the court. I was extremely proud. First time I had the opportunity to see the women's coach in action, and I will tell you, he is very animated. He's as fun to watch as the students. With regard to the topic at hand, I would have to tell you that I'm not inclined to shine a spotlight on those who are fearful of that light. That's my leaning. I'm open to hearing facts. I don't want to hear anecdotes or, you know, so many people did this or this. I mean, that stuff that isn't helpful. That's not helpful to me, and I believe it's not helpful for the students. I believe that that's the source of much of the fear that they're experiencing, and I would urge you to stop doing that. I'm not in favor of a statement that would, in order to have any sort of impact, have to state that we are, as a institution, not going to follow federal law. That's not, that should not happen. I mean, we are a public institution, and we should be, and I believe are, instructing our students that if you don't like the way that the laws are, you need to effectively change those laws, right? But, you know, I was most disturbed by a statement that said our chief of police is not going to enforce immigration laws. Chief, I would hope that you would get the direction from our superintendent president to say that we will enforce all laws. So that's my position as it stands. Again, I'm interested in hearing the facts. If there are facts that I'm not aware of that are forming my opinions, I'm open for that. Thank you.
Trustee Diaz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I would like to share a few items this evening. First, I would like to see if I could get some clarification and guidance on how I, as a trustee, can ask for an item to be considered and placed on the agenda for board consideration. Board Policy 2340 lays out a process for the members of the public to submit agenda items for the board's consideration and how the agenda will be developed by the superintendent with consultation with the board president. But it doesn't clearly lay out the process for trustees to do so. Furthermore, Administrative Procedure 2340 lays out the items to be included on the agenda and the participation of senior management in creating it, but also does not state the process for board trustees to submit an item for board consideration. And so beyond these two, I was unable to find anything else related to the agenda. With what I believe to be ample time, I asked the board president and superintendent that an item be placed on the agenda. And my request was not granted, and this was specifically about, you know, the one of the issues that we're speaking about tonight, which is the statement on undocumented students. I submitted a memo detailing the request to both of them in early January, but it seems that may have not followed the process correctly as shared with me by the board president. I understood that request directly to him and the superintendent would be all I needed to do. It would be very helpful to me if someone could enlighten me on how the process should work so I can be more effective in representing my district and constituents. And I would like to make sure that I have the necessary knowledge to fulfill my responsibilities as a trustee as laid out in Board Policy 2200, and particularly numbers 1, 3, and 8. With that said, I would like to once again formally request that the superintendent and board president place on the agenda for board consideration a discussion on the possibility of the board directing the superintendent issuing a public statement related to immigrant students. This statement would focus on assuring immigrant students on our campus and the community in general that we as a college are going to support them by focusing on their education journey and well-being and not participating in any federal immigration enforcement activities on our campus as permitted by law. I would also like to request that the board consider directing the superintendent in reaching out to the Tulare and Kings County Sheriffs and the Visalia, Tulare, and Hanford Police Departments, urging them not to enforce immigration enforcement activities at any of our campus as permitted by law. So I would like to request today that the board president and superintendent that the items be placed on the agenda for the February meeting for the board discussion. I prefer that that meeting be at the February agenda versus the board retreat so that we can be able to have discussion and input as we've had today. And so I would thank you for your assistance in helping me be a more effective trustee. And I truly respect, your opinion as you have laid out. One of the facts is that community colleges in California serve the largest undocumented body as opposed to the UCs and CSUs, and that's 50 to 70,000 undocumented students throughout its 113, 116 colleges. And while my focus has been on issuing a statement, it has not been about criticizing the services that the college provides. I'm very proud of that. I believe that they are very valuable resources. I think that those are very important. Nobody is saying don't do it, or those services are not enough. But I think that based on my conversations that I've had since becoming board member, and one of the most recent one was with an undocumented student this past Friday. She asked me to please move forward with pushing something like that because her grandmother are scared to send her to school because they don't know if she's going to come back. And so for those students who ask me with tears, I'm here, and I'm here representing them. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I did make a couple of notes, and I did want to share that I take this topic very seriously as well. I've talked to council members from Tulare, Farmersville, Lindsay, county representatives. This is not something that I got information and did nothing with. I wanted to research it and get as much information as possible. And while I'll read my statement first. And so I first want to take a moment to acknowledge the fear and uncertainty and challenge that many of our students and their families facing due to recent events. For those whose lives have been turned upside down, please know that our heart goes out to you. This institution exists to serve as a place of learning, growth, and opportunity. And I'm committed to ensuring that it remains a safe space for everyone who walks through our doors. As a board trustee, our responsibility is to maintain safeguards and ensure that the privacy and security of our students. This responsibility is not one that I take lightly. However, I know that there has been a great deal of discussion and controversy whether COS should issue a public statement to reassure our students of the protections and support we offer. I want to address this directly and share my perspective. While I respect the intentions of those advocating for a public statement, I believe it's important to recognize the fundamental difference between the role of a community college and that of other entities, such as local councils and government bodies. When city councils issue public statements, they typically provide a broad reassurance of their residents, affirming protections and resources available citywide. What they do not do is publicly identify specific businesses, parks, grocery stores, gas stations, where residents may frequent and work. And that there is the key distinction, where the key distinction lies. What is being asked of COS, in essence, is to publicly highlight a specific location, our campus, where students can be found. This creates a level of exposure that I'm not willing to risk for our students. Unlike other public statements meant to reassure broader communities, singling out our campus should or could intentionally make our students more vulnerable. I want to be clear, I care deeply about the well-being of our students. I believe in offering them the protections and the resources they need, but I also believe that those protections are best provided through direct, face-to-face interactions that build trust and demonstrate our commitment to their safety, not through public declarations that may unintentionally compromise their privacy. To those comparing our approach to that of other governing bodies, I ask you for understanding. While issuing a public statement may feel like the right thing to do, we must also weigh the unintended consequences of such decisions. Our students deserve not only our support, but also our discretion. And so, as much as I empathize with the intent behind these calls, I cannot support taking a risk that could endanger the very individuals we are trying to protect. Thank you for taking the time to hear me out. I remain committed to safeguarding the privacy and safety of our students, and I hope together that we can continue to provide the support during these challenging times. I created this note because, again, I've done much research and thought about it. I care deeply about this topic, and I want to continue the conversations. It's just the difference is not, that nothing should be done. It's who it should be directed to. And so that the ongoing conversations that we have, hopefully we can clear that up. But I take my information very seriously. Again, I did as much research as I could. I talked to individuals who deal with over 100 individuals that interact daily with students. And so that information has led me to believe that this is the correct direction until we know more. And I do know that things are changing every day. A week ago, we weren't thinking about Kern County and gas stations, but it's on the top of our mind. And so I want you guys to know that we take this very seriously. Moving forward, I'd like to invite Mr. Foster for a foundation report. Okay. Dr. Lucerne, I'd like to invite you for accreditation report.
Good evening, everyone. A quick update on accreditation. We submitted our report in December to the ACCJC. Dr. Calvin and I have an introductory meeting on January 22nd with our team leads, and we will be discussing the plan, the timeline, and everything with them at that date. Today, Dr. Calvin sent the introductory video that you saw at convocation to our team leads, and I wanted to just reiterate, I was able to see it today. My thanks to Lauren Fishback, to Vanessa Lamb, and to Dr. Calvin for putting that video together. It was fabulous, and the team received it today. January 31st, our Vice President from the ACCJC, Melanie Scheel, will be joining us for a visit during the day to meet with all of us, talk to us about what the accreditation visit will look like. And I confirmed today that she will be attending our grand opening at the Tulare College Center for the new ITT building. And so we will get to spend some time with our VP liaison at that grand opening, as well as on Friday the 31st. The team will meet in March, so we should expect some initial feedback on the ICER in March. I will continue to update you during that time in preparation for our visit in September. Thank you.
Questions for Dr. Lucerne? Thanks. All right, thank you very much. Next, I'd like to invite Dr. Calvin for Superintendent President's report.
Thank you, President Macareno. And just to dovetail on what Dr. Lucerne just mentioned, in addition to our institutional self-evaluation report, that's the ICER we were speaking about, We did an introductory video that you saw on Friday at Convocation, just who we are and how we operate kind of thing, kind of the COS 2.0 monologue that you get from me every once in a while. In addition to that, as you know, the ICER runs 100 to 200 pages. It addresses each and every standard that our accreditors have, and we do as good a job as anybody, but it still comes out, or it can come out, a little bit dry. There's not a whole bunch of pictures and so forth, and so we really wanted to give like a 40-page compendium of the services and successes that we've had, just to kind of bring the standards to life, if you will. So board members, that's what you have in front of you. We're not going to go through it at all. I just wanted you to know kind of where that comes from. I want to thank Lauren Fishback and Vanessa Lamb for putting that together over the break. Some people get to rest during the break. Others get other duties as assigned, and these guys just crush the compendium and crush the video that we sent them as well. So looking forward, I can't tell you how much we're looking forward to the visit from the ACCJC, just to show them how we meet each and every one of their standards. Today was the first day of school. Our enrollment continues to go through the roof. That's not the case at many community colleges that are still struggling to get students back on campus, and their enrollment is suffering as a result. And we keep hearing about them going off that fiscal cliff, and that's just not the case here at the College of the Sequoias. I just want to thank faculty, staff, and administrators for everything they do on behalf of students. We're way over our funding threshold, which can be a little problematic, but we feel like if we can afford it, it's good to educate more people than we're paid for. It just shows that we're doing something special for the region, even though we don't have to go over our funding threshold. Want to just publicly thank Joaquin Zihuatanejo again for coming out and being our keynote speaker. He was fabulous, really resonated with all of our employees. The workshop was maybe not as heavily attended as we would have hoped. Convocation Day is a long day, but for the 20 or so folks that attended, it was his workshop was just as good as his presentation in the theater. So thank you to Joaquin. And then it's already been mentioned a couple of times, but I'll remind the board of a couple of dates coming up. The retreat is Thursday and Friday, the 23rd and 24th, the afternoon of the 23rd, and the most of the day on Friday, the 24th, held at Fresno Pacific. Looking forward to that. I think we've got about 150 PowerPoint slides, again, to immerse yourself in. And so get a good night's sleep and eat a big breakfast, because it's going to be a long day. And then also, on the 30th of January, which I believe is that following Thursday, we've got the ribbon cutting for the Technology and Trades Complex in Tulare. An absolute magnificent facility. When so many community colleges are moving away from career and tech ed fields, we've doubled down our investment. We recognize that there's a lot of high demand, high paying jobs that don't require a 4-year degree. And so that complex will house, automotive, electrical, HVAC, construction, industrial maintenance, industrial technology, ag technology, water technology, probably several that I'm missing. And it'll really complement the programs we already have out there, including agriculture and welding. So join us, please, on January 30th. That's at, I think we're asking people to arrive at 3 o'clock, and maybe a little later start. Is that right? I'm looking at Dr. Shaker. I think it starts at 4, but most of us were told to be there at 3. So I think they're planning for a big crowd. So maybe they just recognize you're going to need some time to park. But 4 o'clock on the 30th at our Tulare campus on Bardsley.
Are the buildings up and running then?
Or?
Yes, today, actually.
So there's classes in there now?
There's classes in there now. Dr. Shingle can probably tell you some harrowing stories. My guess is we had people there at midnight last night. With the rain we had last fall and early spring, it's been a challenge to bring this thing on in on time. But we were able to do that and meet our deadline of today is the first day of school. Thank you, President Macalino.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Superintendent,
Yes.
and going back to what my request was, I asked for clarification on the process.
I'll get it to you in written document, so it's not verbal, it's written document.
Can you share with me what that is?
I will get that to you. I don't have that one for me.
Well, I'll share that it said you can submit it to us for consideration, and we felt like January wasn't the right time. We have a retreat that I had planned to have this conversation. I actually did not want to have this discussion tonight, while healthy, cuts exactly against what many of our students were concerned about. And I'm sure that there are students that feel like this conversation puts them in grave danger.
That has not been my experience.
Well, it's been our experience.
It's been my experience as well.
And it's been the folks that run our Dream Center, it's been their experience. And Osiris is our coordinator for international students. It's been her experience. So whether you're right or we're right, I felt like it was better to hold this discussion at a retreat. First of all, we'd have a little more time, and we could cuss and discuss it a little bit without being quite as public and doing exactly the thing that I wanted to avoid. But that hasn't been the case, and so we're going to do the very best that we can. So that is why we considered it and didn't include it on the January board meeting report or agenda.
But it is on the agenda. It is on the board's agenda for discussion.
For the retreat?
For the retreat.
Yeah, for the retreat. Retreat it is, yes.
Well, I would like to, again, ask that it be pushed into February so that we can have more input from the public, because it is, those that it is affecting. For the majority of us, it is not something that really has affected us. I mean, Trustee Len has mentioned that, his experience has gone as far as, being an immigrant, and I thank you for sharing that. But I think that, none of us on here really have had really the experience of having to be fearful about having to step outside their home, or at least trying to get their education. And while these services are amazing, they're great, what's the point of there being a service if that student's not going to be there tomorrow to be able to access it?
Trustee Diaz, I appreciate that you considered in February. I did mention that to you, and you didn't want to do that. Said it had to be this day or nothing. So for me, it's like,
I did not say it had to be
well, I know,
this day
but
or
that was,
nothing.
I tried to compromise with you, and you didn't want to do that, so.
Because you were bringing up, you were
I made
deviating
a
from what
suggestion.
I was.
I know
what
what
I
you wanted.
was.
I understand that, but as board president, I have the honor of being able to serve the full board in what I think would be the best way to achieve our goal, our common goal. And so I made that suggestion to you, and you didn't. I mean, so I didn't, there is a process, there is a recommendation that I had, and I just asked if you would consider it, and you said no. So I'm glad, what I'm trying to say is I'm glad you're considering February now, because that was my initial conversation to you.
Review, because there's a lot of, I think, communication that is not clear.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next, we'll go to reports. I'd like to invite Mr. Arzola for the Academic Senate President's report and update.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you. Just real quick, it's going to be real short. My apologies for not attending convocation. I was with the Academic Senate.
Did we lose
Yeah.
something off that
Right
speaker?
there, right there.
There you go.
Dang. I was in San Francisco with the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges. We were holding our January board meeting. Relative to the conversation, the big topic here, I will tell you that the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges will be issuing a statement in which we are going to direct local faculty to hold their local boards accountable for attending to the Chancellor's legal advisory dated November 15, 2024, which reaffirms a legal advisory that was passed back in 2018, basically stating that local institutions are required to uphold sanctuary jurisdiction as provided by state law. So we're hoping that our board will take that into consideration when you guys have your retreat conversation. Beyond that, next week I have the opportunity to meet with newly elected state lawmakers, where the Academic Senate for California Community Colleges will also be taking this topic to them, asking them to see what they can do better to help support our undocumented and DACA students. And just a side note, just a little bit, a tad bit of grace here, y'all. I was undocumented. The second day of my first job when I was 5 years old, I had an uncle and 5 cousins that were rounded up by the Border Patrol while I was working out in the fields. All right? If any of you have any of that type of experience, come and speak to me. It still scars me to this day. And to see what the CPB was doing out in Kern County, Fresno County, and Madera, I had concerns coming to work. And I had to carry my passport with me. So that's the end of my report. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Ms. Redden for reports, Costa President's report and update.
So I was walking over with Rainbow today and told her I didn't have a report, but I wrote up something, a couple little things. I just want to start off, too, by saying on Thursday I had the COVID vaccine the day before convocation. That night I didn't feel very well at all. I woke up, I took 2 Advil, 2 Tylenol, 4 of them, I just popped them in my mouth. I'm like, I'm going to go. And I just got to say, I'm super glad I did because, wow, that was the best speaker that you got for convocation that I've heard in years. I don't know if I'll say the best one ever, but it probably comes close, and I've been here. This is my 28th year. So, but, I'm only like 30-something. Well, I don't know how that works out. Okay, so I also want to say for our COSC news that went through, which I'm very happy they went through because I know they have to get approved. But I want to thank Esther Sandoval for sending faculty resources for our faculty on this issue because I think it's needed. What to put in our syllabus and stuff and how we can help. I don't see him here tonight, or maybe I just can't see very well because I can't. I also want to thank Randy Villegas for his COS email for organizing an event that will help these students and also give legal aid. I want to thank Jackie, our student speaker that spoke tonight and last month, for being a leader for these students, for many of them. Now, I also don't think there's 2 sides to this issue. We all want to protect our dreamers. I can hear that. I just think the issue, as Ken has pointed out, is some just don't want to make it public, the support. So last month I did request that we do a public statement after Jackie spoke. So, and then also after that, I found the email that we sent out when Trump first took office, and I did think it was, I thought it was you that sent it out, but it was Dan Croza. So there's a start. There's a start for us, and I've had discussions with Brent. I understand the issues on both sides. I do understand. But I do respectfully disagree still, and so that's why I thought I would say something. I agree with Trustee Nunez, though. I liked his words. Let's try to work together on these issues. We have to. Let's try to do it peacefully. But I hope we've given you a lot to talk about during your next meeting on this. Yeah, thank you. I missed last month the swearing in, so I do want to say welcome, Trustee Diaz. And then that's it. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Redden? No?
Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Next, I'd like to invite Ms. Kane for CSCA President's Report. Oh,
I'm not Ms. Kane, but.
yeah, your representative.
And I'll introduce myself while those are getting passed out. So my name is Janet Leha. I am the chapter vice president here at CSCA for COS. I will be presenting this month's board report CSCA report on behalf of Ms. Kane. So our only item to present is the monthly classified staffing report to give a pulse on the health of the staff unit as it directly relates to operational effectiveness. As you can see on the report that was provided to you, COS currently has 11 total current vacant positions for classified employees. They have an average job vacancy of 78 days, internal hiring rate of 23.08%, external hiring rate of 76.92%, promotion rate of 3.66%, turnover rate 6.91%, average staff tenure is 8.21 years. And we do have two current staffing concerns. There is a microcomputer specialist position on the Visalia campus that has been vacant for 152 days, or approximately 5 months. In a classification that's already severely understaffed to manage the number of machines in the district, this vacancy is putting a strain on the department employees. A COS student was hired as a substitute in late October, but is legally only allowed to work 45 days to cover the vacancy, so they will expend their eligible days soon if they have not already. There is a lack of movement on this position. The lack of movement on this position has created space for rumors around the reasoning and has lowered morale for the staff that are feeling unsupported and unappreciated. And the second concern is there is an account clerk position on the Visalia campus at the cashier's office that has been vacant for 604 days, or approximately 20 months. And after the person that was hired to fill that role was moved to another position instead, the vacancy was never reflown. And that office is perpetually struggling for coverage, and the vacancy exacerbates that situation. And that is it. Thank you.
Thank you for your report. Ms. Alberti, COSAFA President Report Update. Ms. Alberti, we're going to move on to informational. I'd like to invite Dr. Waldner to present Farming Operations Annual Update, COS Tulare Campus.
Thank you. Okay, I bet I can clear a room.
You're used to that.
It's the one that's got a.
I guess you didn't,
Okay, it's got the
you
red.
didn't have to. You didn't have to announce it.
People. Okay, so every year, as you know, we give a update on what we're doing in our farming operations. And this is the 2024 crop year report. We go the year behind us, what we just finished up. Crop year really goes from like December to December. And so we keep our books differently than the fiscal. I mean, we utilize our fiscal office, but we keep the books on a crop year basis. So just to give you context, this is the Tulare campus. Up at the top left is Mission Oak High School, just to give you context of where we are. In red, on this Zoom map, Google map, is the outline of the 500 acres on the Tulare campus, or thereabouts, 500 acres, and I've circled what I call Tulare proper, which is the academic, and that's this piece. What you'll see is that in blue there, the little dot is Google Earth has not updated in a while, and so that's now a building in that whole area. And buildings, you see building C, the farthest south building, and then D, E, and F, and that complex we just talked about is there, the Applied Technology and Trades Complex. Just to give you a little further out, probably when you look at this view, it doesn't include animal science, but there to the right, you can see ornamental horticulture. And then just this whole area, when we've been master planning for 25 years from now, it would probably be this area that would eventually grow out. And actually, when you come to the open house, you'll begin to kind of feel that the east side of campus, not the parking lot side, but east side of campus is really the campus piece. But the rest of it, and I've used this, is really the farming operations. So the areas that you see in blue is the main campus, Tulare main campus, and that's, you can barely see that back in the right corner. The agricultural instructional, I've outlined kind of in that reddish orangey color. OH over to the right, you see the two green pastures, those are ag instructional, and then the livestock unit is also there, and I think you may be able to see it better on your map you're looking in front of you. Then the yellow is the 320 or so acres that we farm on behalf of the ag instructional unit, the farming operations. So the Farming Operations Committee, we've had changes over the years, a lot of the same folks. So these are, on the left is the actual committee of farmers. We meet on a 7 a.m. on a Tuesday, usually once a month on that Tuesday. Some of you have come to that, but we're basically just getting to the nitty-gritty of what we're doing and what is going on, and I'll explain a little bit of that as we go. What I think is, as the years have progressed since I've been here, on the right, President Calvin comes when he can. Then our faculty farm manager, the faculty member that really doesn't oversee the farm necessarily, but oversees the combination of putting the farm and the ag faculty together in making decisions and including those folks. It's kind of exciting that Shannon Cooper, who's our division chair, Ag Business Management faculty, Charlie Abey, Dr. Allison Ferry Abey, and Dr. Kyle Thompson consistently come to those meetings, hear, take back what they're hearing, provide input of what they might want or see, but just as importantly, take that information back to the classroom of what's going on at the farm or figuring out how they can use the farm in that way. So the goals, I think it was on the board sheet report, but the goals of the Farming Operation Committee, I think the first, we're trying to really be a farming operation. So we're maximizing revenue and net profit on the 320 acres that we have. And we utilize that information in agribusiness to talk about why we're doing, what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. And we use that farming advisory who does a lot of input and actually is on our farm a lot, giving input about what we're doing, why we are doing what we're doing. I think secondly, because we are here in the Central Valley and water is such a big issue, we've spent the last 10 years reducing water usage by efficiently managing our surface and our groundwater resources, making improvements in our resources, utilizing groundwater when we have it, and I'll explain a little bit of that as we go. We want to provide a cropping pattern that enhances the ag instructional program. So we are funding through the farm, the ag instructional program, the livestock, and I'll explain all of that as we go. And so we want to enhance that ag instructional program, have the money for the things that they need to do, but also discuss best cultural practices when we do that. And then finally, just provide ample opportunities for demonstration and practice of new technology. So we oftentimes have outside agencies or outside groups come in and look at our farm. We've done a lot of improvements around the area of water. We've got a water irrigation, and we try to use that actual technology as a tool in our management decisions, just like you would on your own farm. Some days I do it better than others. When I'm looking for chairs at the new facility, I'm not necessarily thinking about farming on that day, but Okay, that was a little humor. Come on, people. So 2024 crop year plans, what we did last year, it's pretty simple. This may seem complex to you, but it's not. It's just a spreadsheet. I've got the amount of acreage that we have on there, whether we're single cropping or double cropping, what we're cropping, and then over to the right, it kind of gives you an idea of the time frame. This year, we kept it simple because of the water issues, trying to make a decision about, do you really want to, are you going to make any money in wheat? Are you really going to do wheat? Are you going to do cotton? Are you going to do something else? So because we have a lot of opportunity with our dairy farmers next to us that will buy the corn silage, so we go with corn silage. We have the 70 acres of alfalfa, and I'll talk about that. And then we had the almonds that were in year 8 of almonds. And then President Macareno, we always talk about the Student Ag Experimental Farm, vine, citrus, and stone fruit. That's about 10 acres that our plant science and our ag technology do things with, whereas we're not necessarily going to have students come and work on the actual, they'll work within it, they'll utilize the farm, but if they're pruning and doing things, they do it on the sage farm with the various, they do it on the sage farm, so if we mess up, it doesn't impact us as much, so. Again, just another way of looking at it. It's probably way too much information, but all of that blue on there is the way I keep track of how water runs on the farm, the direction of the water, the way it flows. Down on the right hand is the lift pump from it's down on the right-hand corner. You see a lift pump. That's our service water, where we get service water from Farmer's Ditch. So we've got 5 shares of that, allows us to get surface water. This area, I didn't show it on the other, we don't own this area, but we're at the end of the line right here. And so that means the Cahuilla Water Conservation District, that's their property. They come on our property to get dirt and things like that, to get out because they're landlocked. But you'll also see kind of a lake, if you will. So it's a ponding basin, and it's kind of good for us from a groundwater standpoint of recharging our groundwater to be at their end of their line and have some water.
Where's the property you're talking about now that's
So-
landlocked?
That is
Lower left-hand corner.
the right, yeah, this right here. This rectangle is not us.
All that property along that side is landlocked?
Yeah, they have to go through us. They go right through here when they want to come in and out with their trucks.
You tried to buy it?
There's, no, I don't think it's, no. The Cahuilla Water Conservation District, I mean, I don't think they're going to sell us that.
Yeah,
That's
they
their
told us
property.
It's 15 years ago, it wasn't for sale. They need it. They need it.
And the nice thing, or maybe it's not there's communities right here that are growing out, right? So it does buffer us a little bit. It also is where kids ride when there's not water in it, right? It's their motorcycles and I go chasing them off.
Do they then have a recorded, that they're able to go through our property to get to it?
Yeah, we have I would say.
I can't think of the term that.
Easement.
They have an easement,
Okay.
right, and a gentleman's agreement and a gentle-ladies agreement, and we talk about it, and I'll talk to you a little bit about what happened as a result. They're for the new build of the new road, they've been taking a lot of dirt out
Yeah,
lately.
they must have dug a big hole there.
Yeah. So that's the complicatedness of that. But to just charge on through, corn silage, to try to give you an idea, we've made a little bit of money this year. This year, I'm actually doing this in January versus November. So this is our actual numbers for the most part. So profit loss of the 123 on that. Just note the electricity or the water, I'll bring it up in a minute. It's not an exact accounting of which water went to which field, but our it's really electricity from us pumping water. You can see on the right, when I talk to the farm ops, they'll want to see yields per acre per each, acreage, and we talk about that at great detail and great length in what we're doing and not doing. You all may not care so much. You may care, I don't know.
But that 187 is it's in your 213, or 313.
Yeah, the expenses were 313, the revenue 437, so profit and loss 123.
You just asked if the 87 is.
Oh, the 87 is already out as part of the expenses. I'm just
Yes.
kind of pulling it out, sorry. Alfalfa, not a great year, Luann said, and argued with everybody and said, we're going to keep alfalfa for one more year. Some years that's a good risk. This year we didn't make much, so we probably should have pulled the alfalfa, but it was a good year. I didn't want all the investment that would take that particular year, so we wouldn't have made much in the investment year, but we're okay, and next year, you can see on good years, the third and fourth years, we do pretty decent in hay. Almond trees, whole different story. We're on year 8 of those. You don't see any profit because I will not know that profit until next year because we get that throughout the year when we're selling the almonds. We'll get 4 to 5 payments back of that. Again, I've noted electrical water costs that is associated with that, but I mean, almonds, when we originally came to you as a board and we put in those almonds and I asked for kind of a loan from ourselves, if you will, I think we asked for $852,000 to put that in. It's a struggle, but that's the reason you diversify. This is part of, it's a good conversation with students, but almond trees are not the most productive, aren't the highest cost, but we continue to manage and at least we're breaking even on that, and we have trees, which is good from the instructional standpoint. There's a lot of learning to be done there. A lot of almonds coming out throughout the valley, so we might have a good year. And so there we go. I am on track, at least, to pay the district back. So this year is my big year, so I'm holding my breath, but we'll pay that 246 back this year, back to ourselves, right, back to the district in that way, and then I'll turn around and probably ask back for it if I'll need it. But I mean, I love the fact that you all, I held myself accountable, I will say, and I'm holding you hold us accountable of making that investment and then paying ourselves back because we'll be able to, in another bad year, be able to pull from that money and not asking money from the district. And that's kind of how farming works. This year, I told you those water costs. So last year, we showed you that we were going to build solar connected to the farm. And this year, the district, thank you, Ron, where he went, we did do solar for the farm. And that's back at the livestock units, parking lot 3 is where those are. I don't have much data on that, but we do have that solar lot. It's connected so that 125,000 or so in electric. We'll see if that offsets that cost for us as a farm. And that's pretty much happening throughout the valley. A lot of solar has gone in to help with that cost.
Well, that solar was added this year, or?
Yes.
And did we use the same people that
Where's
No,
Byron
it was a
or
different-
Ron?
it was a
Borrego?
different-
No,
It was
you
a
used
different-
Borrego on
It
this.
was a different company.
different local firm? Okay.
Yeah. And I'll not, we didn't really, none of that was really up and running for last year. So this year, we'll see if there's a difference. Challenges, bright spots, I mean, just higher production costs like everywhere. And I'll show you, almond prices remain suppressed. There was an oversupply, I mean, that continues to happen. Water supply and management, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act continues to be something that we have to do. But bright spots, I mean, the solar, maybe that'll offset some of that for us as a farm. And just the technology investments at the COS farm for water management, we continue to use those. We continue to pull those down. We continue to have faculty try to figure out how to invest and see how that works in their classrooms and teach students the new technologies that are there. So for as many things as frustrating about the almonds, there's many things that we've learned as a result of putting them in. So good, bad, or indifferent, that we're an educational institution. So this is hard to read, I get, but I thought it was a challenge bright spot of just thinking about water as a whole and just giving you some idea. This is me logging in. It's just a picture. I didn't want to try to bring it up, but it tells you, so from 2014 to 2040, you'll see total usage that were allotted, and then you'll see in that blue area total usage, then sustainable supply. So this is what our GSA, we're a part of the greater Cahuilla GSA, Groundwater Sustainability Agency. And so that's our sustainable supply. And then this transitional supply, and the yellow is from 2014 to 2040. By 2040, I'll be retired, but that will be gone. And so we have to, each year it ratchets down. So, so that sustainable supply is what we have to live within. Now, the bright spot that I don't show on here is we have that when we have a wet year, right? We're capturing that groundwater. When we have a wet year, we get credits for the wet year for using the ditch water, the shares that we have. So when we don't use all that and we get credit, that credit goes into this. So it makes our sustainable supply. So it's just a lot of balancing if you're going to farm, you know, how do you use that water resource? And then it's that, I mean, I'm not going to go back, but that planning we do for next year that we've already done because we've already got wheat in the ground. So we make that decision starting in October and November of what are we going to plant next year based on the water we have available, based on trying to predict weather and those kinds of things, which is what everyone does.
Sorry, before you move on to the next slide on this. So it says that we're part of the Greater Cahuilla GSA. Have you or whoever it is that usually makes the decisions as to like who's, you know, which entities, you know, the farming operations are part of, have you thought about perhaps switching over to the Mid-Cahuilla GSA, considering the annexation?
I mean, you're assigned where you're assigned.
Oh, okay.
But I'll address something that'll be of interest to you in a minute. We're assigned the Greater Cahuilla GSA based on where our land is.
Okay.
And so that's just part of where we're at. And it's a good GSA. We like that they're doing the credit. However, I don't think I had a spot for it, but I'll go ahead and answer it now. We may be annexed in. If we're annexed into the city, then that moves us to the Mid-Cahuilla GSA, which has some, we've gone back and forth with the city and the city manager and folks there of just saying, okay, you're not gonna, like, we still can farm, right? If we're in that Tulare GSA, and we've had those conversations. It's mostly more of a handshake with those, but we would move to the Mid-Cahuilla regardless. Okay. And there's some differences between mid and greater, and there's pros and cons in both, as I understand it, but our farming committee continues to just monitor that. But we went ahead and decided if we do get annexed in, or if we choose to annex in, which we're moving that direction, then we would be in Mid-Cahuilla. So that helps. Just again, the student ag experimental farm, I've already mentioned that. That just, this is not an updated picture. It kind of looked sad. Sorry, Raymond. It was looking a little sad, so I'm not going to take a picture. It was a little bit weedy the other day when I went out and took that picture. But had a lot of grapes this year. Did a lot of oranges. I know we've talked about that. We're in a cold area. Like today was not a good day for oranges. It was very cold out there today, and it's not in a protected area. But we continue to, it's a good opportunity for students to go and play and research. Just to end up, just wanted you to know that the farming operations, the faculty themselves and their livestock units contribute back to the overall. So this is the beef unit, sheep unit, and swine unit. Mr. McKeith and Dr. Thompson are involved in all of these units. Students work out at all of those units. They'll be involved in, like, we've got shorthorn cows, so they're involved in sales, quality sale. You can see they gross to 11.5 in that particular cell. Students participated, they groom, they get very involved. We'll have, 10 or 15 students working out there either as volunteers, work experience, or being a paid kind of position for all of those units. And I thought I'd just show a picture. We've lost a lot of sheep lately to dogs, so when you're close to both dogs and coyotes over the last year. So I think the one below is called Prada, is a new dog, a sheep dog that we bought. We tried llamas, they didn't work. Now we're trying sheep dogs, and then the one up in front, she got abused by that ewe that was in the pen with her, but she's learning to, they basically, they're not pets. They just go out there with the sheep. So the students are learning good things there, as long as they don't pet the dog. The dog is supposed to be a sheep and not a dog, so. Equine unit, Ms. Pitlano does a great job. What I'd point out, the working budget, total expenses, that's a lot, but each of those units, you can see the livestock, they sold $33,000 worth of beef cows, she sold 15,000, or we did boarding for those. So they also contribute, students learn about that. And obviously, we're in athletics. We have athletics in Tulare as well. So that's one of our top writers last year. And these units work on a fiscal year, not on a, so it's a little different than the farm. Ornamental horticulture, if anybody was at our, what the heck do we call it? Our,
Harvest.
there we go, the Fall Festival. It's been a long day. Mr. Fernandez, he's done just an incredible job. He does with the ornamental horticulture, but just those pumpkins, he could tell you the student that bred each one of those pumpkins, all those different colors. So it's not just to make money, but it's an opportunity for students to learn. And it's fascinating to listen to him about the learning that happened. And you think, I'm just growing pumpkins to sell. Nope. Learning pumpkins to learn about plant breeding and all of that. And Mr. Fernandez does a phenomenal job with that. And I'd already talked to you a little bit about annexing into the city. And are there any other questions?
Do we still have the veterinarian out there?
No, she left a couple of years ago. And Dr. Thompson, so he teaches those classes, and Dr. Thompson also is dairy, has his PhD in kind of dairy nutrition, so, which works very well for our local community, and he's really building reputation with our local dairymen and improving those classes.
He was one of Fresno State's big dairy science guys, and
Recruited him away.
we recruited him away. Pretty amazing.
Any other
And-
questions?
Question about the profits, do they get reinvested? I know you mentioned that you have to pay back some of that loan, but,
we use it like a regular farming operation, so yes, there's everything we earn goes back in. If anything, the faculty earn from their units goes back in. They don't get to just use that 30,000 for whatever. They have to come and ask me about how we do it. So we might invest in a horse. We invested in a horse. We might invest in, we've invested in a lot of sheep lately because of we've lost the sheep, or we invest in whatever we might need to do with that. Just so yes, we invest it all back in, and we try to keep above. We try to not come ask you for money, back at maintaining all of that.
congratulations on turning over a profit, and I'm always all for, more women in leadership, so
There
thank
we
you.
go. Thank you
I
so
have
much.
a comment, but I wanted to ask if anyone else has any questions or.
Just a compliment for continued excellence. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's way beyond what should be expected of your position,
No.
and
Well,
you
it's
do
not
a
just me.
yeoman's
I've
job.
got 7 amazing faculty members that I get to work with, so.
By the way, normally, the farm ops would meet the Tuesday after our Monday board meetings.
Yeah.
Because it is the first week of school
I said no.
for January.
I don't know why I said yes to this board meeting.
I don't either. But January meeting will be next Tuesdays, right? Trustee Diaz has
Yes.
just been appointed to be the board rep to
Oh, okay. Yeah,
the
I'll add
farm
you to the
ops.
list.
Yeah.
You may not get an agenda until Friday or Saturday.
And I let her know that it wouldn't be tomorrow, that it would be next Tuesday.
Yeah, they're usually the second Tuesday, but when we have something weird, and like the farm show comes up, and that's kind of crazy too, so, yeah, I'll get you on the list.
Thank you so much.
And then a quick comment, because you mentioned it a couple of times, the Sage Farm, that I felt the need to make a quick comment. But I've been watching it since 6 years now, since I've been on the board. And I always loved the concept of the learning education they get from seeing the planting to pruning to the full, and I love that concept.
And then
I-
starting over again.
And then starting over every 5 years, I think that was kind of the goal. And so I do look forward, hopefully, the opportunity, and I always suggest it every year that, if there's at least
I'm gonna bring an orange next year,
at
no
least
matter
that there's a
what.
basket in our marketplace that says for us, by us, that it is fruit that was developed or grown by our students that is available for our student consumption. I would love that someday. So I just want to
Nope,
plant
I
that
hear
seed
you. Yeah,
for you.
I hear you.
Thank you.
You can come pick with me. when
I-
it's
I-
you
I'll
and I
volunteer my
do.
truck. I will volunteer my truck.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Next is the consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar are considered routine and will be enacted by one motion. An item may be removed from the consent calendar at the request of any member of the Board of Trustees or any person in the audience and considered a separate agenda item.
I would like to request that 2 items be amended for correction on the minutes. The first
You
one,
can just pull the item.
We pull it and we can discuss it.
We'll have a discussion about it.
okay.
So item 2?
One was for the public comments,
Yeah, so item
You're
2.
pulling- You're pulling
Item
the
two.
minutes, though, right?
the minutes, yes. And then the second one was in the reports B, Mrs. Redden's, she had,
Still in minutes.
yeah, still in
So
minutes.
both items put in the minutes?
Yes.
Okay. So, at the consent calendar with the item 2 being pulled, we will entertain a motion for personnel reports, payment of bills, 2024-25 working budget approval, out-of-state travel request, and the Tulare County Office of Education authorized signers.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from trustee Sherman, seconded by trustee Lane. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Now we will review item 2 of the consent calendar. Trustee Diaz.
Yes, so the first one were the public comments concerning items not on the agenda. These were comments by student Jackie Ramirez, which were misconstrued. She shared, she was not saying she was anti-Israel. She was saying that she was anti-war. And so if we can change that, from anti-Semitic to anti-war. And then the second item was during COSTA President's report. She did not say, she addressed needing a statement about President Trump's election. She did not mention that. She addressed supporting a statement as was done during the first administration, if I'm, if it's correct, so.
In regards to your first, I do recall there being comments in regards to asking that we disassociate with any vendors. I don't know if it's appropriate to even table this, because I don't know if I can,
Yes,
while I.
vendors that supported the war efforts.
No, and I agree that, that maybe there is a different word that can be used, but I want to make sure that it's appropriately, I guess, appropriate to respectfully share what Jacqueline Ramirez was trying to iterate, and I don't know if I could say without watching the video that it's only anti-war. Maybe it is. That's my opinion.
Mr. President, I have
Video again, I thought it was absolutely
I have a
anti-Israel.
recollection that we were being asked to remove any materials that had anything to do with Israel. But maybe I'm.
That's what I remember it. Yeah.
So I don't think it was anti-war. I think it was anything having any connection with Israel should be removed. Maybe I misunderstood.
I think it was absolutely anti-Israel.
I remember.
Can I suggest that we review the video?
Yes, how about, we'll go back and pull the video, and just take that excerpt, and I'll send it to all the board members, and we can table this until February, and just confirm.
Do you want a motion to table the item?
Yes, I'll make a motion to.
What about the other item?
Yeah, you want to discuss.
Yeah.
I can do the same
And I
thing there.
think
I don't have
Ms. Redden is here, so correct me if I'm wrong. Your statement was in regards to supporting a statement as was done during the first administration, not needing a statement about the election.
Right, it wasn't about President Trump as it states, it was in support for the students.
Well, look at both. If
Yeah,
we're
we'll
gonna
pull that
look at
too.
one,
We're
look at
doing one,
both.
Yeah, I think
we'll
there's
pull
some
both.
words that are missing there. It can be to fine tune that. So I have a motion from trustee Diaz.
I'll second it.
Is that trustee Sherman? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Okay, moving on to action items 2023, 2024 audit report.
Okay, let's get
Mr.
some
Brett.
good stuff, Ron.
Ken's favorite day of the year, the CPA.
You stole my joke. Give me
Oh,
more.
sorry.
My favorite topic and trustee Nunes's favorite topic. We have a presenter, but due to wildfires, he's going to be presenting via Zoom. As you know, every year, we as a district have to go through an audit, legally an audit that goes over all of our funds. And it also shows the stewardness of us, how we take care of the public's money. So with that, I want to introduce John Dominguez, who's a partner of CWDL Auditors, who will go over our audit. I won't tell you the final grade, but you won't be disappointed. And at the end, he'll be here, he'll be on Zoom to answer any questions you may have. So John, if you, I see your face, so take it away, please.
Before we dive into a brief highlight of some results and some financial highlights, just wanted to express our appreciation to really staff throughout the district. Obviously, we're very fiscal intensive with the audit, but we're also looking at compliance both on the federal and state sides, and so we're out in various departments. We're in admissions and records, we're in financial aid, we're throughout the campus, and we had tremendous support from everyone that we interacted with, and wanted to just express our appreciation to all of those key members that played a part in this audit. And with that, I'll jump into just an overview, very brief highlight of the services we are engaged to provide and what we deliver as part of those. The components that make up the audited financials, a summary of those results, some financial highlights, and then a brief summary of the bond audits as well. And so with that, the services and deliverables, we're performing a financial audit of the district for the fiscal year ended June 30th of 2024. We're also performing an audit of the district's compliance with the requirements from the state chancellor's office. So that's our state compliance opinion. And then the federal opinion is based off the OMB uniform guidance and looking at the programs that we select that have a direct and material effect on those federal major programs. And then on the bond side, the Proposition 39 measures C, I, and J are included as well, both financial and performance audits for that fiscal year ended June 30th of 2024. In the component of the district's financials, we render 4 opinions. The first opinion is our independent auditor's report, and this is our opinion on the accuracy and the completeness of the financial statements and financial data and disclosures. And so we're referring to an unmodified opinion. We're saying here that these financial statements present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of the district. And so this is a good opinion, the best opinion at our disposal. It means the data that management provided to us agreed to the 311 that was submitted to the state chancellor's office. It was accurate, it was complete. So that's an excellent financial opinion on the independent auditor's report there. Going through again, just a really brief overview. The MD&A can be found on pages 4 through 9. This is an excellent narrative format where management can explain some of the reasons for change and comparisons to the prior year. Our basic financial statements, also referred to as the core financials. We'll go over some of these in the financial highlights here in a few slides, but the makeup is net position, the revenues, expenses, and changes in net position, cash flows, and we also have the discretely presented component unit of the district, the College of Sequoias Foundation. And I'll just express that these financials are on a full accrual basis of accounting. So we'll often get that question, that some of the numbers may differ from those that are budgeted. This is not fund-based. This is not the general fund. These are all funds combined and all required GASB conversion entries, and we'll touch on what some of those are as well. And then finally, rounding out some of the remaining financial information, you have the notes, which is going to go into some more detail for each of the financial elements found on those statements I previously mentioned, such as net position, some required supplementary information, as well as supplementary. And the other 3 opinions that we render are found in the other independent auditors reports on pages 78 to 85. That's our opinion on the district's internal control over financial reporting and compliance. And then our opinion on its compliance with the state and federal programs that we mentioned in the beginning. And then the district does provide some extra additional supplementary information that can be found on pages 91 to 97. So some excellent combining schedules and additional information there. And moving into a summary of those auditors' results, we did not identify any of our opinions. In all the required, very detailed, very specific federal and state compliance requirements, we did not identify findings or question costs, nor did we have any control deviations that we felt were significant deficiencies or could rise to the level of a material weakness. So a very strong control environment with strong compliance results. And then moving into the financial highlights, the net position of the district did increase by a total of 13.5 million and ended at a total of 146.3. Total assets and deferred outflows has a small decrease of 3.5 million. And the primary expenditure of the district, again, its salaries and benefits, increased by 15.7 million to a total of 102.7. And there was also an increase in the district's capital assets, bringing it to a total of 228 million, obviously as a result of continued investment in the bond programs, construction, building renovation, and equipment purchases. And then a little financial overview of some of the long-term liabilities. I wanted to just point out the district does continue to have a net OPEB asset. That's an excellent thing. I think clearly shows that the board and the district took action early on the OPEB liability. Most districts are going to have an overall OPEB liability when you're compared to your peers throughout the state. And then a summary of the bonded debt. So that's going to be all the general obligation bonds by campus is reflected here. And so we saw a decrease in that category down to 109.9 million. And then finally, the PERS and STRS liability. I just wanted to point out that the pension systems for each individual one, we see this increase of 6.6 million from the prior year. And that composition of PERS and STRS, STRS being 39, PERS being 45, when we look at the volatility there, we're seeing in these middle columns for each system that current discount rate. And just to emphasize that if they were to miss those earnings targets and other estimates by 1%, you would see a fairly significant increase in that liability. Were they to miss the earnings targets, you'll see that to the left column. So that liability for the district, and again, we're just reflecting the district's proportionate share of the statewide PERS and STRS systems, that would increase. If they were to exceed that with better than expected market conditions and other factors, the column to the right, you'd see that liability decrease. But again, we'll continue to report this based on the district's proportionate share of each of those pension systems. And then finally, just to close out our presentation, we rendered an unmodified opinion on the bond financial statements. Of the total expenditures of the 16.4 million, we were able to test nearly 100% of those because of the nature and the volume of the transactions. We were able to select those and get that extremely high percentage of coverage. And our conclusion was that the expenditures were all allowable, properly supported for specific projects, again, allowable and under Prop 39, approved by the voters and projects developed by the board. So excellent results there. I'd be happy to answer any questions about audit procedures or results or anything related to this June 30th of 2024 audit period.
Just, you mentioned the $16 million in expenditures for construction. I suspect that was all the Tulare
It's all the Tulare
construction.
campus, the CTE, the
Correct.
complex, yes.
And so the balance of those will be showing up in the next fiscal year.
In the next audit, you'll see the balance
Right.
of those.
And those bonds are already accounted for in the report on page 9,
Yes.
correct? So all the bonds, was that Measure J, Ron? Was that Measure?
Measure
Yes,
J, the
Measure
20
J.
what,
So all
22 and
those
a half?
bonds have
Yes.
been now issued and will be closed out effectively when the
Correct, from 2008.
when the project,
That was the last piece of
2008.
Measure J from 2008. We
Right.
held on to it that long. Then we matched it with about that much of internal funds to do the trades complex.
just refresh my memory too on the measure, was that Measure C? The university?
Measure C, 95 million?
Yeah,
Sold the
that
bonds.
hasn't hit these books yet.
No, not
That
yet.
was
We
after.
just started spending money this fiscal year.
Right, and the bonds were issued after June 30.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. John, I wish I would have learned to be, to summarize things and be as brief as you are in presenting a 120-page report. It makes it easy on us that try to look at it. So I wish I would have learned that when I was still doing this type of thing.
There's very few of us that are so engulfed in that we can enjoy all 120 pages. So I'll spare the rest of you. So I appreciate that.
We really appreciate that.
I told Greg, just read the MD&A, and you'll be fine.
Well done. Nice job in the presentation, and also very clear in terms of the written presentation. Thank you so much.
Okay, if there are no other I'm sorry, Raymond, go ahead. I was going to make a motion.
Any additional questions?
On a roll.
If not, I'd like to entertain a motion to, well, actually, I'll entertain a motion.
So move.
Second.
Motion by trustee Nunes, seconded by trustee Diaz. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, John. And
Thank you.
before you go to the next item, I just want to acknowledge our Chief Accounting Officer, Rainbow. We have a gatekeeper here on campus. Anybody that has Cal cards, if you're missing a receipt, you're going to hear it from the office. So, and also, it takes a village. Everybody on campus, district-wide, adhering to the policies and procedures on fiscal control. So, it makes my job easier. I put a lot of pressure on her and Leangela, but they do a fantastic job. So, thank you.
Hip-hop dancer, joke teller, and amazing financial manager. Way to go, Rainbow.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Actually,
Appreciate you.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Moving on to item 9, approval of the appointment of 4 members on the Measure C. Visalia Area Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, Dr. Calvin.
Thank you. What number is that? Quickly.
9.
9, thank you, Raymond. Caught me off guard. Yeah, we're thrilled to have filled the other positions, I believe, at our last board meeting, and just had David Mariscal step up as the student representative for Measure C, seeking your approval here tonight.
Question, that says it's a 3-year term. Is he going to be around that long?
You never know. I mean, we had Mackay, who was doing a 1-year term, and the chair's empty next to you, so you never know about students. Sometimes other things come up.
But so if he can't do it, we can fill it?
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
Oh, David's here?
Motion to approve the recommendation.
Maybe we should meet David. David, stand up.
Hello.
Thank you, David.
Are you going to be here 3 years?
I'll be here, trust me.
Poor guy had to sit here for 2.5 hours to be recognized. We probably could have done that earlier.
So there's a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
There's a motion to approve listed in Measure C, Visalia Area Citizens Oversight Committee members to the student to serve a 3-year term of service beginning December 5th, 2024 to December 4th, 2027. There's a motion by trustee Diaz and a seconded by trustee Sherman. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David.
Mr. President, David said he's going to be here for 3 years. I don't find that so far-fetched, because I always tell people that high school was the best 5 years of my life.
We're going to fire him at the Senate if he doesn't graduate within 3 years.
Easy there, Eric, easy.
Moving on to item 10, board policy, second read, Dr. Calvin.
Thank you, President Macareno. We just had the one BP 4250 that, coming back with a few changes from last time. Recall that the vernacular that we were using wasn't quite appropriate. I think we were using dismissal probation. We've changed that to notice or academic notice throughout the document. I think that was the major change from last time to this time. Is that right?
Yeah, I incorrectly posted.
Yeah. So it's academic notice throughout, or progress notice in a few places, yes. Yes.
Just to clarify,
Absolutely.
this version that you're seeing now is the one that went to Academic Senate and District Government Senate for approval. We had a miscommunication at the last board meeting, the wrong version.
Got it. Lots of documents come towards us, and so we posted the wrong one, but you're right. This one is the one that went through our sausage factory and was approved.
Okay. It's a test, and hopefully we passed. Got it.
I move we approve Board Policy 4250 as amended.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Sherman, seconded by trustee Nunez. All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here today and sharing your thoughts and feelings about some topics. We look forward to ongoing discussions. Thank you very much for being here.